I feel like whoever has this role needs to have somewhat of a financial background in order to be articulate with the auditor's office. And why I'm running is that, I mean, we've got to keep the seat. We have to win. We have to keep MAGA Republicans out of it, because I think they're willing to weaponize any office that they sit into. And I could easily see someone getting in this position and just identifying, Democratic strongholds throughout the state, and they just want to go throw sand in the gears.
We're rolling. We're rolling.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.
One of the tough things about the auditor's race is that it really kind of flies under the radar for a lot of folks. And what I've been finding anyway is that when you walk into the conventions, I think there's just a lot of angst around the Trump administration and what's happening nationally. And people they're concerned. They want to get involved. Like 50% of the people that have stepped up are their first-time caucus and convention attendees. And but you get that. A lot of people are there for the Senate race, depending on the district, the congressional races, given the state of the legislature and the balance in the House, the legislative races. And the auditor's office is kind of an afterthought. It's kind of wonky. It's boring. Frankly, it probably should be boring. You should not have an exciting auditor's office.
I'm going to introduce the episode. This is the Wedge Live podcast. I'm your host, John Edwards. Joining me today is Adam Jennings, who is the mayor of Tonka Bay, and as you may have guessed, is running for state auditor here in Minnesota. I have to admit, I was at my Senate District DFL convention, SD 61, and when the auditor candidates came up to talk, you know what, I used that as my opportunity to take a mental break from what was happening and not pay attention to anything. So you're right that it is flying under the radar. And so am I right to understand this office is only about auditing local government entities?
I mean, there are a few other things, but a lion's share of it, easily like 95% of it, is auditing local entities. You are 100% correct. It's things like cities, towns, counties, school districts, fire relief associations, those sorts of things. It oftentimes gets confused with the office of the legislative auditor, which is an appointed position. It's nonpartisan. And that office provides oversight for state level agencies, any legislatively appropriated funds. So a lot of, what we're seeing right now in the newspapers about feeding our future or the learning centers and things like that falls underneath that particular office. I think one of the frustrating things from my perspective is that the Republican candidates right now are actively conflating issues.
So are they, I'm coming to this fairly ignorant. So the Republican candidates are running on the idea that if you elect me to this office, I will solve all of your feeding our future style fraud issues.
Yes.
They're making false promises about what this office can do.
There is one guy that has spent an inordinate amount of energy talking about feeding our future. And I can see what they're trying to do. I mean, it's essentially like most people don't know about this office. There's a lot of confusion about it, what it does. And fraud. I mean, the Republicans have been very good at owning the messaging on this, acting like it's a new thing, that it's everywhere. This particular office, I think, was the closest office the last time, state level races occurred. And I think for them, they see it as a real opportunity to be able to flip the seat. Because I think it's their strategy right now is to make everything top of ticket, bottom of ticket about fraud. And so they just keep hitting that again and again and again. And it's, if you can scare enough people and if you can confuse enough people, then maybe they can get some votes out of that, and it's dishonest.
So I pay attention to the news a lot, but I can't remember ever seeing a story about the work of the state auditor's office. Like, I can understand the psychology of someone who thinks maybe one day I'll run for city council or I'll run for state legislature, but I have no way of understanding the type of person who thinks maybe one day I'll run for state auditor. I don't. Who is that person? It's you. Like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Like, somebody has to do it, but why would it have to be you? Why would you want it to be you?
Yeah. And it's a great question. I don't think I ever had designs for running for state auditor. Certainly if you'd asked me this time last year, it was not on my radar. I got approached about it over the summer. Somebody had indicated that Julie Blaha was going to be stepping down. And they just said, hey, it seems like it'd be a good fit for you just given your skill set. I've been in finance in one capacity or another for 24 years. And I generally like being in the numbers. I think I enjoy budgeting, and I think I'm good at it. And I didn't immediately jump at it either. I mean, when this was brought up, Melissa Hortman had been murdered, roughly only a month earlier. And whenever you jump into a race like this, you have to be considerate about, you take your family through that as well. And but I got to thinking about it, and the day that Julie did announce that she was stepping down, there were two candidates that jumped in same day. And I feel like whoever has this role needs to have somewhat of a financial background in order to be articulate with the auditor's office. And why I'm running is that, we've got to keep the seat. We have to win. We have to keep MAGA Republicans out of it, because I think they're willing to weaponize any office that they sit into. And I could easily see someone getting in this position and just identifying, Democratic strongholds throughout the state, and they just want to go throw sand in the gears. And I feel like I've got a really good resume. It's one of those things. I come into it as a combat veteran, a finance professional with 24 years of experience, small business owner, where none of my employees pay anything in healthcare. I cover the cost completely on that. And I'm a small town mayor right now in Tonka Bay. I serve roughly 1,500 residents here. And the thing I like about that is it's sort of the other end of the financial spectrum, right? It's the kind of place where you're watching every single nickel and dime. Most of the cities in the state of Minnesota are small. They just are. They're dealing with really small budgets, and they're trying to figure out how to get things done. The best example I can think of right now is that our city, we bought a brand new F-350 for our public works department last fall. And, we're not talking about anything fancy. It has some stuff on it, but it represented 4% of our operating budget. And we've got water, sewer, and roads that are falling apart. We're trying to, they haven't been touched since the 60s. We're trying to figure out how to get those things fixed. And you're always trying to be mindful of cost. And hopefully that answers. It's just at the end of the day, it's like a Republican cannot win this. I've said a couple of times too. It's just given the state of our country and where their party is at, I feel like I'm living in a Kurt Vonnegut novel.
Yeah. I'm constantly afraid and helpless feeling, just constantly. And and that's not just about like the ICE occupation. That is people having their health care taken away, people having their food assistance taken away, all so we can pay for a massively inflationary illegal war in Iran. Like, I feel constantly in crisis and helpless about doing anything about it.
And on any given day, it's just something new. We finally get a ceasefire in Iran, and then suddenly we're talking about Greenland again.
Yeah.
And it just, the level of absurdity is just, I feel like I'm constantly speaking in hyperbole. Yeah. And it's what we're actually looking at right now. And that's why I'm running and I think that's why a lot of people step forward, for the first time for these conventions and things. I think there's this general sense of this has got to stop. So
I noticed what stood out to me, never weaponized for partisan gain, is a line from your website about, and it made me suspect that people are going to try to do that. I can think of, you can imagine what a Trumper would do if elected to this office. It would be to like target Minneapolis. Same thing they did in the lead up to the ICE surge, is pretend something is going on in Minneapolis that you're going to solve with armed ICE agents.
100%.
Make up stories to justify attacking urban areas.
Yeah, and I think about it as similar to like what Pam Bondi did with the Justice Department.
Yeah,
just all right, we're just going to make things up, and it's like once you can get a headline or you can get it in the news, and it gets back to people don't pay close attention to this office. You can get a lie just sailing through, and people listening to it long before you can ever start getting behind the facts. And
so there's a great video on your website that I appreciated. I watched it just before we came on, where you basically explain very simply what your plan is if you win, which I appreciated. It's like an 8-minute video. And so two things: you want to hire more staff, and
yes,
you want to subsidize cities so they can pay for the cost of being audited, which is tough for smaller cities, you said.
Yes.
So why does the auditor's office need more staff?
The high watermark for this office used to be 165 people. And during the Plenty administration, some people may remember this, he came in and made all sorts of draconian cuts all across the state. I remember specifically at the time he was like shutting libraries down. And the state auditor's office was part of that. And they essentially got cut in half. And I know that Rebecca Otto and Julie Blaha have both tried to get additional staff back since then, but it kind of gets back down to that I think this is the sort of office that sort of flies under the radar. It's not super sexy. It's easy to push off to the side. And the fact that everybody's talking about fraud right now, I think gives us an opportunity to really bring it to the forefront. But to answer your question, there's a few things. One, we've got a lot of employees that are working overtime right now, and that's extremely concerning from just a retention standpoint. A lot of my experience has been you typically have the best people step forward to cover gaps in employment if you are shorthanded, but you run the risk of burning your best people out, and people shouldn't have to live like that. They should be compensated well and competitively, and then there should be enough staff to get the job done, because I think we could increase the bandwidth of audits that are being conducted, and then we could get the annual report out on a more frequent, or not, I shouldn't say frequent. They seem to be running behind. So I think if we just you just need more folks to get the work done. But there's another piece to this too. So the auditor's office right now just conducts efficiency audits. So that's largely you go in, you take a look at the budget, you check the numbers, you make sure that everything's being spent appropriately. There's no malfeasance. There's no fraud. If the numbers check out, good to go. But there's another kind of audit. It's called an effectiveness audit, where you can go in and actually see so you might have a budget and you might be spending to that budget, but how well are those dollars being spent? Are you actually doing what it is that you have intended to do? But again, in order to do that, that's going to take a whole other order of involvement, and you can't get it done without more people. We can't continue to promise services without having the people behind it.
So with an effectiveness audit, would that be about finding wrongdoing or just inefficiencies and potentially saving cities money?
I think it's more about inefficiencies in this point. Whenever you're doing any audit, even an efficiency audit, you're looking for fraud. And but an effectiveness audit is say that a certain city allocated funding towards a housing program. I think you could develop a set of parameters to ensure that they're getting the most for their money, and make sure that it's not being wasted in any way. I've had a number of people approach me as we've been going through this campaign, that have real concerns there, that talk about, there's so much money going to these programs and we don't feel like it's being spent well. Now, there's a fine line there. I mean, ultimately, the decisions are made at the local level. The auditor does not write policy. It's largely just an oversight position. But you need to be careful. I don't want to create an environment where the auditor is like squaring off politically with local governments. But at the same time, I think it's fair to say, and we'd have to figure out how to do this, and work would have to go into it. And I literally think we would need to go to the Humphrey School and the university and get some thought leaders on this to figure out how to best do these audits. But it's just to make sure that our money is actually getting things done, that we say it's getting done, rather than just throwing a title out there, throwing money at it, and then patting ourselves on the back and saying, look, we did a great job because we spent money on housing.
Right. So your other priority would be subsidizing cities. Like, why do cities need subsidy for these audits? Like, what's wrong with the current way things are done?
Yeah, so I think of it as kind of an unfunded mandate. And and you probably saw this in the video. In Tonka Bay, we have a budget of about $2 million, which is actually a larger budget than a lot of smaller cities that are out there. And an audit, and again, I'm just estimating the cost here, but for us, it's around $30,000. That's where we were just shy of that. And $30,000 represents about 1.5% of our overall budget. And any city that has tax revenue in excess of $1 million is required to go through an audit on an annual basis. If you have revenue and this is all driven by the legislature, if you have revenue that's less than $1 million, in order to help with that cost burden, they only require you to go through an audit once every 5 years. But I think my argument is, let's just help them out. Because I think so many of these communities, especially as you kind of drive across the state, they're trying to figure out how to get all kinds of things done with limited resources. And we're requiring them to go through this audit. So this is just a way for the state to step in and help. It's akin to, local government assistance or the LGA. It would be a subsidy. And I feel like so many of the small cities all across the state they're just hurting. And you can kind of see it when you walk through. You can see the need for infrastructure improvement. And $30,000 is not going to improve your infrastructure. It's just far too expensive. But I figure this is one of those things, and I get back to kind of the pickup truck for Tonka Bay. It's just one way to ease the burden to allow you to, maybe Public Works needs a new lawnmower or something. It's just one less thing for them to have to deal with. Now, I'll add, and I almost forgot this point. So the other thing, because it would be a grant, we could also tie strings to it and say, okay, guys, if this is what, if you accept these dollars, you also have to agree to the fact that it's going to be the state auditor that's coming in and doing your audit. Because right now, cities they're allowed to use a private auditing firm if they so choose, and that's based on a law that was written in 2015. Went all the way to the Minnesota Supreme Court, and they found in favor of the law. So it just is what it is. But what you've done is you've introduced this middleman, and I did have a conversation with Julie Blaha about this, and I do want to throw in a caveat here real quickly. Julie is an open book. She talks to absolutely everybody. She talks to all of the candidates. She is by no way trying to imply in any way that she's somehow endorsing me. She's not. She's just an open book. Anyway, no, she just talked about how she basically has this like server full of PDFs, and it creates issues on being able to mine that data and go through it. And they're not necessarily always uniform as well. I mean, there isn't a uniform standard audit that you can go through as an accountant, but if you have several people doing it, it just, if we could centralize the activity, I think it would help streamline then putting together the annual reports, which are used as benchmarks by cities amongst one another, but also the legislature to help them identify how to best spend funding.
Or is there a lobbying group for the private auditors who would be very opposed to your campaign for cutting them out?
Possibly. I guess I hadn't thought about that aspect of it, but certainly I don't want to make decisions based on what lobbying groups are thinking.
Sounds like you're ready to destroy an entire industry in the state of Minnesota.
If anything, I mean, there's a dearth of accountants that are out there. I know we recently switched to auditing firms, but I could also see them breathing a sigh of relief because it would lift some of the cost burden, or they're having bandwidth issues right now too.
Okay.
So, and that's a real concern. I mean, it's something that we haven't talked about. We have a number of accountants that are going to be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. There's just a massive drop off. So we've got to think of creative ways to bring new people in. And I think we could do anything from, partnering with universities, go all the way to the high school level, try to put in some payback programs, something similar to what teachers do. Sort of like, if we help you pay off, if you come to work for us for a certain number of years, we help pay off your education. Now, granted, that all takes funding too. And that's part of this role. I mean, you're providing managerial oversight of your staff, but you're also engaging the legislature, trying to push your initiatives. And that's something that we're going to need to figure out. So
going back to the one of the earlier questions I asked you about, like, why in the world would you run to be state auditor? I'm thinking there is another kind of person who might run for this office. And it's the kind of person who sees an open seat and is like, I'd like to be elected to something. Why not have it be this? Now, Are there people running for this? I haven't researched anyone. You're the first candidate I'm talking to. And so I'm taking it one by one. Are there? Should I beware of candidates running for this office who are just like the idea of being elected to something? Is that something that is happening?
I think I'm going to have to take the policy here of not throwing any potential shade at anyone. Okay. So,
well, again, I have no idea about any of the other candidates. So this,
let's talk about it holistically.
Okay.
Certainly that could be a rationale for somebody stepping into this role. I mean, if you think about it, Mark Dayton was a former state auditor.
Oh,
and
really?
He later became governor. Yeah.
It's a springboard potentially.
Arnie Carlson was a state auditor and then became governor. So it does give you statewide exposure, and I think somebody could. I mean, certainly it could poise you to do that. That is not my intent in this. I'm not sure I would ever want to be governor. But yeah, no, it's out there for sure. I mean, I can see people. I mean, Rebecca Otto, if you think about it, she served, I think, 3 terms, and she ran for governor. Mm-hmm. But she did not get the endorsement. So
you're a mayor. How big is Tonka Bay? How many people live in Tonka Bay?
We are just shy of 1,500.
Okay. So this is a part-time mayorship there, right?
Yes. I make $100 a meeting. So we have 23 meetings in a year. So if I have perfect attendance, because I only get paid if I attend. And I had perfect attendance up until this race. So I make $2,300 a year if I have perfect attendance. In theory, it's a part-time job. And certainly there are weeks that I don't put a lot into it. You just don't need to. But we did replace 25% of our water, sewer, and roads, and we had a pretty hefty construction project that was going on in the city, and there are definitely weeks that it takes a lot of time, and most of it's phone time, but it's about relationships, and sometimes there's confusion that's out there. Sometimes you have misinformation that gets spread, and you're trying to just kind of figure those things out and make sure that it's not getting away from you too. But yeah, no, I mean, I had a guy show up on my doorstep one morning when I was trying to get my kids ready for school who was angry about a pothole that had been created during the construction project. So it's, I mean, yes, it's a part-time job.
All the pain and headaches of a big city full-time mayor, but for $100 a meeting.
Yeah, and I mean, it is. I mean, it is rewarding though, because it does feel good because you can have a direct impact and you get to see it, and it's in your own community, and there's good that comes with it. I mean, there are some hassles that come with it too. I mean, certainly any decision that you make, if it's not popular, you're running into folks at the grocery store that
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of it too. But it's about just trying to come at it from a perspective of you always want to try and do the right thing, and you want to make sure that any decision that you make, you can bring the receipts too.
How long have you been mayor?
So this is my 6th year, and I'm there. So it's my 4th term total. The council positions are 4-year terms, and I originally started in 2016. Yeah, I've been elected mayor 3 times.
And what are you most proud of when you look back on your time as mayor, when you're up at the state auditor's office? What are you going to look back on and say, it was worth it because we did X?
So the road improvement by far at this point. So we were having our infrastructure hadn't been touched since the mid-1960s. Previous administrations were very proud of the fact that we had, at times, the lowest tax rate in the entire county. But what you find, like after I stepped in, is that, yeah, you might have a low tax rate, but that's because you weren't putting any money aside for capital improvements and planning for the future in any way. And I kind of stepped in at about a time that our infrastructure really, truly started to collapse. We had 19 water main breaks between 2019 and 2020, and every time the main line would break and go down, you have to shut the water off to fix the problem. The entire city was out of water, 19 times, right? And each fix was roughly about $15,000, and we were talking about what that represents. Now, I'll tell you, our budget at the time was $1.5 million. It wasn't even $2 million. The reason it's at $2 million now is because of all of the money that we've had to plug into it in order to cover the bonding to fix the problem. But stepped in, found out, put together the plan, developed the financing, put it together, created a capital plan that as long as we stick to it, we'll be 100% replaced by 2035. But we got that main line fixed. And we started going to some of the ancillary lines where we were having more breaks. And I mean, sure, we're a city of 1,500, but 25% of your city to improve, it's not sexy. I mean, water, sewer, and roads, you don't think about it very often. And it's easy to not plan for it as long as everything's working. I think one of the things that really helped in this particular case was that it's really easy to make the financial case when, every other day you're going to turn on your faucet and it doesn't work. Me specifically, there literally was a water main break that happened while I was in the shower. And I had soap, like I was at the sudsy point, and it was just, I was sitting there and the spigot head, I had this stream of water coming through and it just did that thing where it was like, and you're like, what? Not now.
Serves you right, Mayor. You're responsible. It serves you right. You should be the one in the shower with
Exactly.
the soapy head.
So people are like, what are you doing about this? Why isn't this getting done? And then you have to be upfront about, okay, this is what we're going to do, and this is going to be how much it costs, and your property taxes are going to go up because of this. But I think, we had a lot of good faith people who understood what was going on, and that made it a lot easier.
Did they understand the disinvestment? Were you able to shift blame to decades of predecessors who had not saved for the rainy day?
Well, I didn't take that approach. I basically just took the approach of, this is a problem that we have and we need to fix it. Because I'll tell you, I mean, previous administrations for me, I'm friends with a number of these people, and I figured, let's not make it about that. It's just, now's the time to pay for it. It would have been really nice to do it sooner, especially we were at such a low interest rate environment for so long that really would have been the ideal time to tackle a lot of this stuff. But it is what it is. We've gotten it done. We have a plan in place. Hopefully we'll continue to be able to push this forward. I think the single biggest thing that concerns me right now is that, our county commissioner came in and reported to us this just past meeting. And with all the federal cuts that are happening right now, we don't know what the tax rate environment is going to look like in 27. In Hennepin County, they're cutting $32 million out of HUD. They're cutting $12 million out of SNAP. We don't even know what the number is for Medicaid right now. They're openly talking about the fact that they might have to shut down Hennepin County Medical Center, which is, one of the single largest level 1 trauma centers in not even just the state. I mean, they service the Dakotas as well. And to close that gap from a funding standpoint, it means that they're probably going to have to increase taxes, which will hit everyone's property tax bill. And, it's funny, I'm just going to speak out of turn on this. I think an idea that I would love to see kind of get floated around that I haven't really heard discussed is that, if I were the governor, why not just not pay the federal government? I mean, we're already kind of a loaner state anyway. I mean, for every dollar that we send out, we only get a fraction of it back. I don't remember what the exact number is. Call it 70 cents. Don't quote me on that number. But Minnesota pays into the system and helps support other states in the United States. I just figure, why not just go at Trump and play his game?
How do we, what is the mechanism for not paying the federal government? Aren't we all as individuals paying taxes to the federal government? How do we not pay?
I don't know.
It's a nice thought. Like, what if we
it's a nice
didn't
thought.
send money?
I don't know the mechanism behind it. I'm assuming that, I don't know.
Like a general strike kind of thing where it's like, all of us together have decided we're not sending you our money. Come and get us.
Yeah, well, and I think what I'm doing is I'm kind of springboarding, because Pritzker has thrown this idea out there, and he's used the word like soft secession.
Okay.
And that's the point. He's basically saying, if you take a look at most of the democratic states across the United States, we're the economic engines. Mm-hmm. The Californias, the New Yorks, the Minnesotas, the Illinois. If those states were to band together and simply say, we're not paying, it really puts financial pressure on the federal government. And like I said, I don't know what that looks like. I can't even believe I'm talking about that right now. This is not part of my platform. It's
aspirational. So, it doesn't mean you have a concrete way to get there. And plus, you're running for state auditor. You're not
exactly. It has nothing to do with my office.
I love it though.
So
I think we've come to the end. So is there anything about your campaign that you would like to let us know that we haven't touched on yet before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I am proud to say that I have the endorsements of John Hoffman, Senator Omar Fateh, and Councilmember Oreen Chowdhury. I've approached them. I've talked to them. I feel like we share the same value set, and I'm so proud to have their backing in this particular race. That was really fast, and I thought, I don't know, we didn't get to ride around on bicycles or anything.
That's true, because there's 4 of you. There are 4 Democrats, DFLers running for state auditor. Is that correct?
Yeah, there sure are.
And I was worried if all of them said yes, I can't just go on a bike ride with one of you. And those are kind of a pain in the ass to edit. So I thought we should do this remotely.
Yeah, fair enough. No, and I was being 100% facetious. I think the biggest takeaway from here is that, and this has sort of been my position since we started this campaign, one of the things that the state auditor does do is they sit on the State Board of Investment. And you essentially are the governing body that's in charge of the pensions and how they're invested from the state. There's a portfolio right now of around $161 billion, and I think that we need to divest of those countries that invest in weapons of war or commit war crimes. or violate child labor laws. I think environmental laws, things like that. I think, and I sort of describe it in these terms, right? Because it's funny. I brought this up. I would say going on the campaign trail, there are a significant number of people that are very interested in this, and these are union members and state employees, and this is their pension, this is their money, and they're saying, we have formally voted on this. We don't want to see our money invested in this way, and I think this is part of a fiduciary duty. You listen to those folks, and it's exactly what you do. We have an opportunity to do this. I worked at Allianz years ago. It was about 15 years ago, and we got headquarters came from down high and said, divest of any weapons of war. We're not in this industry anymore. And the company had roughly $1 trillion in assets under management at the time. And when you're that large, one of your primary problems is trying to figure out how to make, plug your money so that it still makes an adequate return to back. For us, it was annuities, but annuities are essentially just a private version of a pension. The asset liability management mathematics is identical. But my argument is that if a company that large can do it, most certainly the state of Minnesota can do it. And I'm sorry, I feel like I'm going on for too long, but here's the other thing. I liken it to, because there's an open debate out there as to whether or not we can do that with our pensions. And, everything has a price. Right now, it's already politically baked into the DNA of Minnesota that the boundary waters are sacred and we will protect them. And that's what everybody stands behind. And if we just wanted to make this about economic return, we could open it up to copper sulfide mining tomorrow, right? And just say, here you go. We're going to make a boatload of cash. Good luck. But we don't, because we've made a moral commitment to not do that. And I don't think that there's any reason that we couldn't take a leadership position in this country and do the exact same thing with our pension funds as well. And just say, we're going to add this, we're going to give direction to our asset managers and say that these are things that Minnesota does not invest in. I've done it in the private sector. It's possible to do. I think we should continue to do it publicly. And I stand firmly behind that. I think it's really important for people to understand where I stand on that.
Well, Adam Jennings, mayor of Tonka Bay, candidate for state auditor in Minnesota. You're vying for the DFL endorsement, so there'll be a state convention where that happens. And also, so I don't usually ask this question, but what if you don't get the DFL endorsement? Will you continue on?
I plan to abide by the endorsement.
Is there likely to be one, or is it just too many candidates?
That's a great question. I mean, certainly that's a possibility. The sense I'm getting and the conversations I've had from folks is that people want a single candidate behind this. But it's anybody's guess at this point in time, because this gets back to what we were first talking about. It kind of flies under the radar. I truly, the sense I'm getting is the day of the convention, there are probably going to be a lot of people that are like, who are you voting for? I know nothing
People
about this.
People will be copying off the Smart Kids paper
yeah,
during the test. Who are you?
and that isn't, we certainly have, we're keeping account on, who we have and the support we have in that room, and it looks good, right? But there truly are just a lot of people that are like, ugh, I don't know. I still got to do research. There's a lot of you. I got to understand the office, and then, damn, there's 4 of you, and I can't really tell the 4 of you apart. So it's
well, maybe this will help. So more conversations with state auditor candidates coming up. Thank you, Adam Jennings. I'm so glad that I paid attention to this conversation, unlike the 60-second, way too enthusiastic speech that you gave to the DFL convention that I attended recently.
Okay.
It's like I was really put off by how just overly aggressively enthusiastic all of the state auditor candidates were, because they knew nobody cared that they were speaking. I just felt like it was all just real fake and phony from all of you.
Just out of curiosity, which one was that?
SD 61. So that was at Washburn High School in South Minneapolis.
Okay. Yep. No, I remember being at that one. That's good feedback.
Do they all run together? No, don't adjust your performance based on my reaction.
No. Honestly, I've actually kind of, in some cases, I've tried to actually dial it down because I have heard other people say that. Some of it, I think, is just trying to get people's attention.
Yeah, you have to do it. You have to do it.
It's like you almost want to have like a magic show or something. Like, hey, up here, like, because like you were saying, I think it's a moment. Shoot, I know we're done. Can I tell you one more quick story?
Go ahead. There's no.
Okay, sorry. So we were at it. We had all gone to an event, and it was funny. There were a number of different candidates. This was last fall, and Peggy gets up there and speak, and Angie gets up there and speaks, and then there were a number of congressional candidates who get up there and speak, and it's this banquet room, and then they were like, okay, and now we have a slate of auditor candidates that are going to speak, and about 50% of the room got up and either went to the bar or the bathroom. And it was just like,
that's the right reaction.
It's an important job. It's one of those. I fell in love with economics when I took it. I was super excited to talk to people about it after I did. And I realized when I went to a party, people were just glazing over. And I'm like, oh, I'm that guy. I'm the boring guy at the party nobody is as excited about this as I am.
And if you get the job, if we happen to see you on the news, it will mean something awful has happened, right? There's no good reason to hear from the state auditor on the news.
This is true. This is, and like I said, it should be a boring job. You really shouldn't know who your auditor is. Everything should just be happening, right? And with any luck, that's exactly what we'll do. So
okay. Well, Adam Jennings, candidate for state auditor, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the time. Thanks for the opportunity.
This has been the Wedge Live podcast. I'm your host, John Edwards. Thank you for listening.
This is a real thing. Real thing.
None of you have the balls to stop this. Stop this.
I've got plenty of time. I have nothing else going on today.
We're in the Wedge neighborhood right now.